everyone to ADEX Pixel Virtual Expo and also to this Bluhope Big Blue Day event. I hope you enjoyed the session we had earlier on where the panelists were talking about the shark stewarding and also protecting our ocean apex predator. Here for this particular session, we will be talking about fish bomb free Sabah alongside with Sabah Plastic Neutral. Here I'd like to introduce to you the moderator for this session, none other than Aaron Gekoski. Aaron, over to you.
Thank you so much, Nora. Welcome to the second webinar of Bluhope's Big Blue Day live on ADEX Pixel. Thank you everyone for joining us today, wherever you are in the world, whatever time it might be. I'm currently actually in the UK where it is an ungodly time of 3:30 in the morning. So that's why you'll have to excuse my delirium and the bags under my eyes. My name is Aaron Gekoski. I'm an environmental photojournalist who spent a lot of time in Sabah documenting some of the main marine conservation issues over there. Today's session, we're going to be talking about fish bomb-free Sabah. Now, fish bombing is also known as dynamite fishing or blast fishing, and it's one of the most destructive fishing practices around. And it typically involves throwing handmade bombs into the ocean or onto the seabed. And what this form of fishing does is it obliterates seabeds and the coral reefs that are thousands of years old. It really is one of the most destructive fishing methods imaginable. And it's also incredibly dangerous to the fishermen who are involved in it. So for today's session, we're going to be having an update about a project that has taken a huge amount of work from all parties involved. And we're going to learn how Sabah have been using this technology from the US, which was originally or still being used to fight crime, and now are applying it for environmental purposes. So without further ado, we've got a great panel with us today. We've got Terence Lim, who's the Executive Director of the Earth Island Institute. We have Clark Dunson from Stop Fish Bombing. He's the Director of Technology there. Rudolph, Director of Earth Island Institute. Jude, Junius, commercial diver and founder of Dive Ranger. And we have Datuk Ming, who is the Chairman of the Anti-Fish Bombing Committee. So now I'd like to hand over to my good buddy Terence. Terence, how are you doing today?
Good, sunny, a little bit different from you, a little sunny Sabah here at the moment.
Sunny Sabah, yeah, don't make us all jealous.
Okay, for the benefit of our listeners, what is fish bombing or blast fishing? Here's what Bertie explained earlier on, that it's basically just somebody with explosive material or device, and they chuck into the water and they can cause an explosion. So that is basically what is.
Terence, sorry to interrupt you. Can I just check that you're close to your microphone? I think we're having a few problems hearing you.
Can you hear me now better?
That's better, yeah. Thank you, Terence.
Yeah, as I was saying, for the benefit of our viewers and listeners, fish bombing is actually an activity that, as what Bertie explained earlier on, is just a little device that they chuck into the water and then it creates an explosion. And this explosion then stung the fish and at the same time damages the coral, which is the main habitat of most marine life. So what we're trying to do here now is that we're trying to monitor this activity by having a listening device underwater that listens into blasts. And my colleague later on from ShotSpotter will explain a little bit more on what this is, how does the system work in detecting the blast underwater.
Terence, I'm really sorry to interrupt again. I'm still having some problems hearing you. I don't know whether you might try taking out your headphones. Maybe try taking them out because it's very in and out.
Maybe this one.
Let's see if that's any better.
How are we doing now? How are we doing?
Okay,
now?
let's try again.
Okay,
Thank you.
In the past year or so, we have deployed sensors around Kota Kinabalu, and with the sensors that is running deploying Kota Kinabalu, we are quite successful in our detection of blasts that have occurred in Kota Kinabalu. And so far, we have on record detected 12 blasts using our sensors. And with the information that we obtained, we have provided the information to the local authority, especially Sabah Parks, for them to take action. As of today, our sensors are able to assist Sabah Park in apprehending 2 cases of fish bombing, which a total of 5 persons has been charged in court for this illegal activity for fish bombing. In general, fish bombers, typically there are 3 groups of them. That's how I classify them. One is the curious weekend blasters they're just curious to know how loud is the bang and what can they catch or what they can retrieve from throwing a explosive device underwater. And then the second group of blasters are the one that's gonna feed their family. These are the people that have probably 5-6 children at home, and they are struggling to feed their family. And the easiest way for them to feed the family is to obtain an explosive device and chuck it in the water, throw it in the water, and catch what they can get. So these are the people that the group of people that are under a lot of stress from the community. And the last group, which is the most destructive of them all, are the commercial blasters. These are people that goes out on a mothership with a flotilla of between 8 to 10 smaller boats, and they'll go out and blast the whole reef and to collect fish. And one of the challenge of detecting these commercial guys are that they normally blast in a very remote area, and when they harvest the fish or when they bring the fish, blast fish out from the water, from the sea, they normally gut it and then they put it into salt brine, and this is where they make salt fish from the fish that they collected. And this makes it very, very difficult to trace these fish caught from blast fishing or other methods. Now, with the effect of COVID-19, this has a big, major effect of stress to the community. There have been reports of blasting activities in high numbers in certain areas, which occur remote areas further north of Sabah. There was one particular report that stated there were 20 blasts heard in a single day. So what does it mean is that COVID has indirectly stressed the community, and and with the restricted movement that has been imposed, fishermen are not allowed to go out to fish in a normal manner. So for them to feed their family, this is again one of the fastest way to go out and fish. So we are trying our very best to try and monitor this. Now, with this webinar is it's been titled Sabah Fish Bomb Free. Well, what we are enticed here is that we have a long-term plan or project that we would like to deploy at least 250 sensors all along the coastline of Sabah. And with these sensors along the coastline, we hope that this will be sufficient enough to help monitor the blast and to provide the relevant information to the authorities so they can act on it. Well, with this 250 sensors they need to deploy, it will definitely need a huge undertaking in terms of funds. So I will touch on these funds later on, further down this my speech. We are here also because of what plastic can do. I mean, there have been a lot of talks about circular economy. So we believe that this circular economy is probably one of the best way forward in terms of helping the community. If we are able to turn plastic into something valuable, and the community can start to harvest or collect plastics from the sea, then we can turn this into something valuable, and the community can have an alternative source of income and that they can use, and hopefully this will turn them away from fish bombing. What do we need to do next? What's our next course of action? So there's two ways to look at this. Number one, firstly, of course, is to increase the number of sensors that we need to deploy. As I mentioned, we are in the plans of deploying 250 sensors along the coastline. And the second method is to look at the community, the coastal community themselves, and to set up some kind of some sort of macro startup fund to help the community in their livelihood. And one of the suggestions that we had for this macro startup fund is that to empower the women in the community, that to allow them to head the community, to monitor and to help to improve the livelihood of the people, the villagers in the community through the women, not through the men. And there are some examples. If you Google it, there's quite a lot of examples that a successful example that empowering women is the right way forward. And to achieve all the above that two points I mentioned above, we do need funds, and we need support from the general public, from the diverse community, and even in the big corporations, so hopefully that they can provide some funds so that we can increase the number of sensors and also to run this macro startup facility for the community. But before I end my session, I would like to quote from Robert Swan. He's the first person that walked both the North Pole and South Pole. He says, the greatest danger to our planet is the belief that someone else is going to save it. So it's not somebody else is going to save it, it's us. All of us have the responsibility to save our planet, save our marine life, and safeguard our ecosystem. To help us with this, we hope that we can get some funds, people that are supporting us and driving the funds to us. Every single ringgit count or dollar count, because it will go a long way. Before I end, I would like to play a video, and I'd like to credit this video that was produced by Scuba Zoo. This beautiful video that is produced by Scuba Zoo, and Scuba Zoo is our go-to underwater video and image provider. So, can you please play the video?
Every person on this planet has a connection with the ocean. From the water we drink, to the fish stocks and unsustainable livelihoods it supports. But the heart of the oceans, the coral reefs, are under immense pressure from climate change, acidification, plastic pollution, trawling, and the most destructive fishing method of all, fish bombing. Fish bombing happens throughout Southeast Asia, including the Coral Triangle, the most biodiverse underwater habitat on the planet. It is illegal in every country, but until now, they've not had the means to detect it in order to enforce these laws. If fish bombing continues, people and communities will continue to lose their fisheries and future livelihoods, and the world will continue to lose some of the most beautiful, diverse, and productive habitats of all. Up until very recently, there's not been a way to know where and when fish bombing occurs. But now, Stop Fish Bombing shows where fish bombs explode immediately, in real time. By adapting proven US law enforcement technology to locate gunfire in cities, we can now report the exact time and location every time a fish bomb goes off. The boat can then be tracked by radar, drone, and video camera until it can be intercepted by law enforcement authorities. So how does it work? Acoustic sensors, hydrophones, are placed at strategic underwater locations and the difference in arrival time of the explosion at each sensor is used by a central computer to triangulate the location. The system then reports the exact location within seconds on a mobile app. And with this very precise information, marine law enforcement authorities are alerted to take immediate action. While Stop Fish Bombing's technology is now able to locate fish bombs as they happen, more funding is needed to turn prototypes into robust systems to enable effective enforcement, to provide education and alternative ways for communities to feed their families. Everyone agrees we must stop fish bombing to save coral reefs and the livelihoods of those depending on them. Let's start now.
I really want to thank you for what you're doing to use your voices, use your power, show the evidence of how terrible it is to use explosives to bomb coral reefs. We're bombing our future.
We call upon all our friends in the region and around the world to support us with technical assistance and funding to achieve SDGs 14, stopping illegal, unregulated and destructive fishing by 2020 in our waters.
Okay, thank you so much for that, Terence. That's a really powerful video, and we learned a little bit about how the technology works. So speaking of which, I'd now like to introduce Clark Dunson, who is actually the Stop Fish Bombing Director of Technology, who can further fill us in on some of the gaps and the work that they're doing over there. Hiya, Clark.
Thank you, Aaron. And hello, everyone. I really appreciate you joining us today. We got a great talk going on here, and I got some cool slides to show. I hope you can hear me well. It's coming across good, right?
Perfect, yeah.
Excellent. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen, share computer sound. We're going to have some explosion sounds to listen to, so I wouldn't say turn it up too loud, but if you have some headphones, you might be able to hear it better. So it's kind of interesting. So let me go back to the start here. I'm going to be talking to you today about detecting fish bombs in real time and putting a dot on a map so that law enforcement can find the bombers quickly. Historically, they go and hide in remote regions, and it's impossible to find them or catch them. Let's see. So starting with the real basics here, what is a fish bomb? You saw a little bit in the video. This is another example. It's obviously homemade. You can see it has matches to start it. It has an underwater fuse. It's waterproof. So they light it and throw it in the water, and the fuse keeps burning. And then inside of the neck of the bottle here is a blasting cap. And it detonates this high explosive here. Now this explosive can't be lit with a match like a firecracker. It has to be detonated with concussion. It's a high explosive, more like plastic explosive. So it's extremely powerful. If you're using a beer bottle like this, you get splashes like the one I'm showing here. If you use a wine bottle, they're bigger. If you use a big beer bottle, even bigger. And some folks use even larger containers, like LP gas containers, to make really large explosions. So let's now look and see, flesh out a little bit more about what Terence was saying about who's doing the bombing. You know, we've run into two main forms of it and a third one, but he mentioned the individual bombers. You know, what are they doing out there? Well, one bomb maybe up to 20, but they're a single person or maybe a few friends on a boat, and they're fish bombing to feed their families and their friends. So that's one group we've discovered. Another is, I'm going to call it gang, and this is a bunch of people who terrorize villages, go into stateless people's inner sanctum and threaten their control of their village, threaten their women, threaten to steal their stuff, threaten to take over their village. And these guys are throwing a lot more bombs. Let's just call it 100 a day. It could be anything, but I'm just trying to give some perspective here as to what really is going on out there. It's part of stating the problem. And then, as Terence mentioned, the industrial bomber has a multi-ship operation. We heard of one in specific where there's a big mothership. It comes out for 7 to 9 days. And these day boats come out every morning, and the ship gives them bombs. And they go off and throw a bunch of bombs and catch some fish and come back and basically sell the fish back to the mothership. So this kind of operation is obviously a lot more bombs a day. We heard about 800 bombs. We heard about 1,000 bombs. We heard about 150 bombs from each of these day boats. They're bombing a lot more than the individual folks are. So that's an overview of the problem. Another part of the problem is the damage it causes. And I'm going to show you 5 specific kinds here. One is wasted fish. A lot of times fish sink to the bottom and are never taken. So it's a very wasteful practice, this fish bombing. And you can see here in the wake of this boat where these weren't taken. They were just laying there. There's also collateral damage. And this is defined as damage to other species, such as crabs, turtles, other marine life that is not the intent of the fishermen to catch. So that's collateral damage. We also have injured people. It can happen at night. Bombing can happen at night. It can happen when people have been drinking alcohol. And you will see stories in the news media around the Coral Triangle where people have had the bombs go off too close to them. They've lost their hand. They've lost their... A fourth category is that the fish bombs indiscriminately kill the baby fish, the fry. The baby fish are necessary if you want to have big fish. So when you throw a bomb into a school of fish, you kill the babies. They're the weakest link in the chain. And then you kill the parents too. And now there's no more little fish to make big fish. And so it's extremely wasteful. That's why a lot of places have limitations on the smallest fish you can take so that the babies can survive and grow up. But the worst damage here, as you saw in the video, is this business about a dead reef. Now, what does it mean? It means the coral's gone. And since the coral is gone, the fish are not there because there's nothing to eat. No life. And because the coral is broken and shattered and the ocean currents are rocking around the debris, it's extremely hard for fresh coral to land and a polyp to land and lock on. And so the estimates is more than 20 years for a reef to cover once it's reached this level of destruction and the bombing is stopped. So it's extremely bad for our coral reefs, this practice of fish bombing. Okay, so what is ShotSpotter? ShotSpotter is an American corporation, a company. They're in 100 cities, more than 100 now, all over the world, mostly in the US. They mount detectors on top of buildings, as you can see here. And then a gunshot happens. The detectors detect the sound of the gunshot, pop. They put a dot on the map within 60 seconds, and the police show up. And so the founder of ShotSpotter and some other folks that are not on this call were thinking about this back in 2013. Would it work underwater? Could we use it to fight fish bombing? Turned out it was almost a perfect fit. We had to tweak very few things to make it work. And our first demonstration happened in 2015. We had a proof of concept. And you can see here, I'm just kind of showing the result of that at a big picture. The bombers had a GPS receiver, so we knew exactly where their location was. And then the computed locations around those bombs, you can see them here. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 bombs. This shows that the system was really accurate with only a minor tweaking. We changed the speed of sound in air to the speed of sound in water, and that's about all we did for this 2015 experiment. So that was very exciting because it told us we were onto something. So let's take a little look further into the technology. It uses a form of triangulation from multiple sensors to calculate where the bomb, where it was and what time it was, because it went off before the sound reached the sensors, and it's not right at the sensor. So this triangulation technology, this particular bomb triggered 5 sensors. You can count them here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and you can see the bomb signals in the sound. And the next piece of good news we got out of this is that the signals are extremely powerful. We estimate the sensors will have a range on the order of 30 kilometers. We've not tested that yet. We've tested 9 kilometers. That's pretty far. So the sound travels really fast and it remains impulsive, more importantly. Boom! As I'm going to play for you now. So let's see. Brace yourself for the first one. It's really loud. I hope you all can hear it. Okay, here we go. Did we hear that? Did everybody hear it? Okay.
Yeah.
Could you hear that clicking in the background? Click, 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 click. Divers know what that is. That's shrimp clicks. And that's one of the things we have to dodge when we're trying to say that's a bomb and not a shrimp. It's pretty interesting. Okay, so now let's listen to one. This is a 1.7 kilometers. That first one was 160 meters, so very close. 1.7 kilometers, but this one's in a muddy, shallow area. So the sound gets muffled a little bit. Let's listen. Shrimp clicks, and there it is. Boom. Now this next one, really interesting. It was 6 kilometers away, and in between the reef we were on and the reef the bombers were bombing was a 600-foot deep trench. You can imagine that, 6 kilometers with a 200-meter deep trench. Okay, so let's play this guy now. Hear that pop? That's what makes it so distinctive as a sound, and we can pick it up very well. Okay, so this last one is an interesting phenomena. You know, when a bomb goes off, the bubble expands around the bomb, and then it goes too far, and then the water pressure takes over and pushes it back in, and then it goes in too far, and then the water pressure, the pressure pushes it back out. So it oscillates, and that's what you're going to hear here. There's 2 bubble pulses and an initial pulse that you'll hear. So listen close. Hear that? Boom, boom, boom. That's a known phenomenon. It's very characteristic to certain settings with these fish bombs and really helps us make it easy to detect them. So now I'm going to move on to my system chart real quick here. The system has 4 different components, right? It's detection. That would be the sensors in the water. It has confirmation, which is a cloud server that listens to the sensors and validates that it is indeed a bomb. It also runs machine learning classifier, all this modern, wonderful stuff that helps us identify the characteristics of the signal so that we understand what we're dealing with. Once that's been vetted and approved, automatically within 60 seconds, an alert is sent out to law enforcement. And you can see here, there's 2 forms that alert can take. One is on a mobile app, Android, iPhone. Another is it's a big screen in a dispatch center, or it's someone's laptop. It's browser based, so it can run anywhere. And this notification takes place. And then after that, we have tools for doing the analysis that show how accurately did the automatic pulses line up. Let's tweak it a little way this way, see if we can improve the location. Location actually is suspected to be better than plus or minus 25 meters, maybe plus or minus 10 meters. So it's pretty good already, but the system is in the stage of being optimally tuned. So we know it works, so now we're tuning it. And that's where we are. So I got this last slide here that shows kind of the injured parts of the coral triangle. You can see red is obviously worse. That's the Philippines and some other areas. But I just wanted to show you, kind of in the big picture where our arrays are today. We have one array in Kota Kinabalu, and we have another one across the island, the western, and then across the island in the eastern Sabah is Semporna array. So these arrays would have already been deployed completely, except that COVID has shut us down. So we are just waiting with finger on the trigger to go and finish putting those sensors out there and complete the arrays. So Terence summarized all this here already, so I won't bore you, but I will say this, please support us. Definitely, our aim is to end fish bombing along the entire Sabah coastline. Go to our website, give us a like, sfbusa.org, make a donation, really appreciate it, and thank you for your time and attention.
Okay, thank you so much, Clark. Absolutely fascinating stuff. Now, Dieter. So Dieter Rudolph, who's director of the Earth Island Institute. If I could hand over to you, please, Dieter. Your sound, you need to unmute yourself. Common problem with Zoom. Still muted. There should be the button in the bottom left corner. You should be able to see the
Now,
mute.
can you hear me?
There we go.
There you
Now
go.
we
All right.
got you. The floor
Okay, we
is
heard
yours.
Earth Island Institute a couple of times here. What this is really an organization that provides fiscal sponsorship for projects. Projects that do good things. You heard one of those during the early morning session with Shark Stewards, David McGuire. He is a Earth Island project. And then also another one right here in Borneo is the Borneo Project in Sarawak that protects the rainforests and also fights for indigenous people's rights. So that's just a little bit of background, but the reason why it's important because it provides our project not-for-profit status. And that's really, and then our association with ShotSpotter that we have under contract to provide support. And I'm glad to have both Bob Schoen, the founder, and also Clark as a member of our team. What I wanted to do is to really make sure that everybody understands the unique capabilities that we bring to this problem of the fish bombing. And that, as Clark explained, the detection, that's important, but a lot of people can do that. The next step is really localizing it to plus or minus 25 meters or even less than that. And then the most important part is the immediate notification to enforcement agencies so that they can respond. And typically what has happened in the past is that somebody will call in and say, okay, well, there was a blast over here somewhere behind that reef or over there. And then the enforcement guys would go out there and try to find it, and lots of time is wasted doing all that. What we found out now in Kota Kinabalu and the Sabah parks, that they're learning from the blasts that they have, the patterns of the bombers, that they can kind of pre-position their boats, that they know what time they go out, typically, high tide, whatever it is, and incoming tide. And so that is a very helpful thing in being prepared to respond even quicker. Now, the one thing you heard, the fish bombing going on, fish bombing isn't unique to Malaysia or the Golden Triangle. It happens really most around the world. Even in our own backyard, we have something called seal bombing, which is supposed to be a nuisance deterrence, but it's gotten out of hand. 1 month, 37,500 blasts. So something is really wrong. And so we're deploying the ShotSpotter, the system over there also to see what we can do to detect and locate, and then overlay that to the whale movement to see where all of that goes. The final thing that I wanted to say is that right now for this illegal, unreported and unregulated fishing that is so destructive, there are really a couple of tools that are being used. The biggest one is the Global Fishing Watch, and that relies on the fishers and their automated information system being turned on, and they can be tracked. And based on their track, you can figure out what kind of fishing they're doing. Long line fishers, straight line. Purse seiners, they have to make a purse somewhere and they have to close a loop. So you see that. Problem is they turn off the AIS, that automated information system, and then they kind of conveniently drift into an marine protected area. And all of a sudden they have to turn on their lights if they want to fish and attract the fish. Well, once that happens, we have a satellite that does the infrared imaging radar. It's called VIIRS, and that then detects the fishers that are doing those, using the lights. But you don't really have the blast information that we also need to be concerned about. And so that's why we're kind of the third tool in this toolkit to stop this and control this illegal, unreported, and unregulated fishing. And as we've already pointed out, we really need to cover the Sabah coastline. It's about 2,000 miles, and we figured out it's going to take about 250 sensors to cover the hot spots. And we've already detected that the blasters are moving further away from where the arrays are. They're not stupid. You know, they don't want the enforcement guys to come in and confiscate their boats and do other things. So that's really the most important thing, is the unique ability that we provide for this IUU fishing to control that. And so we ask for your support in helping us achieve that goal. Thanks.
Dieter, thank you so much. So Jude Junius now is going to speak to us. He's a commercial diver and founder of Dive Ranger. Jude, over to you.
Yeah, hello. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you fine.
Yeah, all right. Okay. So I'm going to start. So my name is Jude. I started off as a dive master, petty dive master, and then I'm a commercial diver as well. I founded Dive Ranger as a platform where we could gather information from all the dive boats that were in Tunku Abdul Rahman Parks in KK. So it all started with just one net and two divers who decided to remove this 150-meter net, and then from sponsorship from a dive company called Divers Borneo, and then quickly we realized two divers were not enough, and then we started to crowdfund our activity to remove all these nets that we identified inside the marine park. And then we started to realize that the amount of funding and manpower needed to remove these nets. So I decided to create sort of a bridge for all the dive shops and all the divers that were in the water, basically to help Sabah Parks become the eyes and ears for Sabah Parks, and to help them with the enforcement of the park. So we have divers in the water almost every day before the COVID movement control. So we were collecting reports from these nets, and then we realized that it was not something that it wasn't like a small matter that can be just solved by 1 or 2 days removing the net. Once we started it to crowdfund it on social media, which was really quick, more reports started coming in, and then we realized that we needed to create this bridge to help Sabah Parks monitor what's under the water instead of just patrols on the surface. So that's what we did, and then we founded Dive Rangers with Bob Hartley and Scott Maybeck, who's a biologist. Bob Hartley is the guy who looks like Santa Claus. So this was the one of the first few trips where we brought out about 3 boats filled up with divers. It started from 2 divers, but we realized very quickly that a lot of the professional divers, from dive masters to instructors, were very keen on helping out, volunteering to remove these nets. And at the time when we started off, we it started with just a few nets, and then more and more reports of nets started coming in, and we removed a total of 18 nets, which at the length of an average of 100 to almost 200 meters. As you can see in the pictures, these are nets that are still new. So leaving this net overnight would collect more fish, and these dead fish who get tangled on the nets would attract more and more fish. So we have to remove them as quickly as possible. And then we decided to create this bridge, and it helped a lot with being the eyes underwater for Sabah Parks, and for us to be the manpower on standby to go down and remove the nets as soon as possible. Of course, this was 2 years ago, and I just started being involved in it, so I was just realizing and researching on finding ways to fund this expedition continuously. So once we that was how we all started, and once we created this sort of a bridge, a platform to report all these nets, not only the report of nets that come in, it was reports of fish bombs, where these guys were in the water with dive masters and instructors who were in the water with their guests. Most of them are newly certified divers who take open water courses and advanced courses at Tunku Abdul Rahman Parks. So these divers would be diving, and then a bomb would go off, and then what happens next is it will few reports would come out. The bomb goes off underwater, they panic, and then they surface, and there's a delay where they need to get everybody in the water to calm them down before exiting the water. And then once they get on the boat, they need to go for their phones, dry up, and if they were at an area where there is no telephone line, they would have to move to an area, and then only then the report would come in saying that we were in this dive site and we heard a bomb go off, or 2 or 3 bombs go off during a dive. And then when we received these reports, we didn't know what to do with it, because we couldn't tell how far the bombs were thrown in, and how close to it, how close to the divers they were at the point, and which direction were they. I mean, if it was with nets spotted like in the pictures, these guys would come up, would mark the area, take the GPS, and then we can remove the net as soon as possible, like 1 or 2 days. But of course, in the process, we'd be looking for funds, and as how fast we can receive the funds is how fast we can remove them. Or if a dive boat is diving there at the moment, they would remove them for us and report it. But when it comes to bombs, we don't know what to do in terms of all we can do is tell the time of the bomb going off and how loud, and we cannot really determine in words and in just text message how loud it was. So we can't tell the distance, whether it was in the park or outside of the park. The park jurisdiction is roughly about a kilometer from the mainland. So these bombs that are far away, more than a kilometer off, would still sound like it was next to the diver, you know. It causes panic. You'd have to be there underwater yourself to to experience this. It kind of gives a bad image for the providing safety for divers, especially new divers. So we got really concerned, and we thought we fixed one problem with the nets. We found a way to probably fix the problems with the nets, but when it comes to the bombs, it was kind of tough about figuring out the solution to it. So as it went by, there was a group chat where they'd gather information through so the reports coming into dive ranges would send it to another group who's collecting data, and even then, as we watch it, it's very hard to determine where it was. So most of the time, divers they tend to be emotional when it comes to the bombs going off and trying to find out what is the authority doing, and then finding out that nothing is properly being done about it. And 2 days later, another bomb goes off. It became very worrying, especially for us to be receiving the reports and not knowing what to do with it. So at this point, there was a point where the bombs became worse, where divers were complaining that this time it was different. They felt the vibration, not only the really loud abnormal sound that hurt their ears, but thankfully not damage any of their eardrums. It scared the hell out of their guests. But this time they said they felt the vibrations in their bodies, and it caused the kind of panic that it was very worrying, where we realized then that the bombs were getting closer. So these guys who are doing the bombings, as Terence have said, there are a few types, two categories of these guys, and some of them are start to become very more brave to get closer and start bombing the reefs inside the marine park. So definitely we'd need more detection underwater, because solving the problem with ghost nets and in this picture, let me just talk quickly about this picture. This was one day of work where we identified about 5 nets that we were going to remove, but then we found a lot more. This is about 40 to 50 kilos of nets, each ranging about 200 meters to 100 meters. Very, very long nets. And these are not nets that drifted from deep sea and tangled onto the reefs. As we see the nets, it is very evenly stretched out across the reefs. We are suspecting it to be drift nets, where the fisherman comes in, puts floating devices on the net up current, and then putting it in the water, leaving the area, and let the net drift across the reef, and then he comes and pick it up at the end of the reef. So one end of this net gets tangled to the reef, and then it spreads out very evenly and tight across these reefs. So this was what we wanted to stop and wanted to make sure that it never happens again. But then when it comes to fish bombs, all all we can do is report, finding dead fish all over the reefs in front of our customers. We brag about how beautiful our coral reefs are, and we sound very proud of what we can show our tourists. And the tourism line is one of the areas where these fishermen can get involved with, where they can evolve their income. But we understand that it'll take a lot of time for it to happen, and a lot of education and system, which we support to be done in Sabah. But during that time of this evolution, it's not going to take just a few months for that to ever happen. It needs a lot of time, and during this time, we need to protect these reefs, and it needs to be on the spot enforcement, where the bomb goes off and a boat needs to go straight away to that area. So the more people, they understand that it's wrong at that point, and it becomes too much of a gamble to come in to protected areas and bomb the area and then get caught. So they would hopefully move towards not doing it anymore. Yeah, we understand the time that it needs to for it to take. So during this time, for us to provide eyes and ears as divers, we can do that for ghost nets and drift nets and rubbish, that plastics that are stuck on the reef, and we can report these and remove these, become the manpower for this effort. But when it comes to fish bombs, we feel very helpless, and we need to we'd love to see this this effort of detection happen. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Jude.
Yep.
Sorry to cut you off there. We're just starting to run out of time a little bit. But really great to hear of the work that you're doing on a local level to help the marine environment. So fascinating stuff. So finally, I would like to head over to Datuk Ming, who is the chairman of the Anti-Fish Bombing Committee. Datuk, over to you.
Thanks, Aaron. Hello, everybody. How's everybody doing this fine morning in Sabah? I pity Aaron, and also thank you for staying up so late just to be with us. I think data in US is also probably getting to sleep soon. Like what was introduced to me, to us just now, I was the chairman of the Sabah Anti-Fish Bombing Committee back in 2013 and 2018. So I have the pleasure to serve in this fine ministry, which is the Ministry of Tourism and Environment, two very important sectors in Sabah. And I would like to share with our viewers something about our government, Sabah and Sabah. First of all, Sabah is well known around the world as an eco destination. Now, it's famed for not only Sepadan, which everybody knows is located in the Golden Triangle, beautiful corals there. We also have a lot of other things going on in Sabah on land. In Sabah, you will also find the oldest forest in the world. That is the Denham Valley. It's about 130 million years old. It's much older than Amazon. So in Sabah, it's truly an eco destination. And it leads to my next kind of something that everybody knows, that in Sabah, we still have plenty to protect. We have a lot of places that needs protections. And given that we are a developing state in a developing nation, which is Malaysia, unfortunately, because of the needs of the people, the needs of developments, environments does have a place in our hearts, but not much resources can be placed into it. That's why we always, during my time, and it's continuing to be happening in Sabah, we always welcome NGOs or anybody outside who wants to come in and help Sabah. Or some of you might ask, is the Sabah government really committed to what we are preaching? You know, some people will say, "Oh, we don't give money," but is this money really supported by the initiative by the government, or is the government really involved? We got the people who is committed. We got a lot of NGOs, such as some of our panels here, who wants to do good for the nations, for the world, and that is to save our environment for the coming generations. But another critical puzzle in this is the commitment of the government. You know, if is the government committed? Let me put it this way. As I said, Sabah has plenty to save, and the Sabah government has done a lot for the environment, whether some of you know it or not. For example, we have in place in a very long time to conserve our forests, you know, first-class conservation forests, totally protected forests, and we set a target that 30% of our land mass has to be covered or by virgin forests or totally protected forests, and that is also in line with the world bodies. That 30%, they come up with a new one with the 30 by 30. Currently, Sabah has about 26% to 27% of its area totally protected, totally forest protected, inclusive of Denham, which kings, queens, prince, and princess has come from all over the world to visit. 2 years, about 5 years or 4 years back, during one of our convention or one of our dialogue or one of our conference on anti-fish bombing, the Sabah government has socially pledged to protect its marine life of up to 15%. That is recommended by the world organizations. You know, we were the first state or even the first region around Southeast Asia to public support for that. Glad to say is that from then till today, we are very close to that target of 15%. I think we are now probably up to, I'm not in the government right now, but I'm sure some of my colleagues has worked hard towards it. We are probably about 12 to 13% of our total marine areas to be protected under parks. Now, moving forward, I'm having a meeting with the new tourism and environment minister next week, and I'm very confident that he will endorse the new policies of 30 by 30, which is 30% of marine protected areas by the year 2030. Given our track record in what we have done over the years, I believe this government, which is the Barisan National Government, the previous government that has put in a lot, that has shown heavily committed to environment, even to the point for example, back in 2002, I believe, the chief minister back then actually kicked everybody out of Sepadan. I think all the divers out there knows what is Sepadan. Sepadan is the jewel in the diving industry. Back then, there was a lot of people setting up a lot of resorts there. And back in 2002, I believe, the government made a very tough decision to get everybody out of Sepadan. And today, we see the result of it. Sepadan has returned to its glorious years, way back in 60s or 70s, where everybody is pressing Sepadan as being one of the top dive spot in the world. Now, moving forward, I am very confident that the government will commit to its agenda to safeguard the environment for our future generations. But we need help. We need help from everybody. I had the pleasure of working with ShotSpotter when they first came to Sabah back in 2016, I believe. Clark, I believe you guys came back then. I have the pleasure to look at the experiment that they have done, and I'm very convinced that what they have is something that we urgently need in Sabah, and it can put a big stop to all this nonsense that is going on, which is the fish bombing that is happening in Malay, in Sabah. The government has the desire to stop it. That is, we have the track record to prove it to everybody. If anybody is to doubt it, just look at ShotSpotter and just look at Dandenong Valley. Just look at our conservations in terms of forest, which is as I said, it's about 26 to 27%. We believe if everybody put in help with this program that we have, to install about 250. I think Terence mentioned that we require about 250. That is something that is mind-boggling in the terms of financial commitments. That we need everybody's help to do that, and I believe there is our audience out there, and there's many others out in the world who understands the important environment, who appreciate the environment, and wants to safeguard what we have today for our future generations, for my grandsons, my great-grandsons to enjoy what we are looking at, especially here in Sabah. Sabah has very much a lot to protect. And the last point that I want to make here is that we got the technology right now. I think we can put a stop to all this fish bombing, working together with the government, with the enforcers, and all the NGOs and everybody. There is another phase to which back in 2016 at the conference, I kind of mentioned this. It's easy for us to blame the criminals for having to do all these fish bombings, carrying out illegal activities, but they are part of the equations. And if we don't look into that part of the equations, I think we will be doing disservice to ourselves. Now, what I'm saying is that, people, it's easy for us to sit in 5-star hotels, to jet around the world, talk about saving the environment, all this needs to be done, not to be done. But to a guy who has 5 or 6 kids, small kids to feed, even though they know how dangerous it is to fish bomb, they're risking their life, they're going against the law, they may get caught. But to come back home without any fish, to feed the family, to listen to the cries of hunger, I think many of us will not have the chance to look into that, but I have seen it. It's very hard to tell these people, look, you have to stop this, without giving them an opportunity for an alternative to make a living for themselves. So that's why I'm very happy that together today we also mentioned about the plastic program that Simon and a few group of Scuba Zoo and a few of them is mentioning, to be tied in, and to be a part of this solution, this holistic solution, where we not only take care of the problem with the fish bombing, but we also take care of our community, that is involved, that practice this kind of illegal activities, and to give a better life to all these groups of people. So to do all this, I think we need support, not only from those who are very committed, like all my panels here, who are very committed to saving the environment, from all the government agencies, the NGOs, but we need you, the audience, to be part of it. Terence was saying that, one of the biggest problem, he quoted somebody, is one of the biggest problem is that conservation is always somebody else's job. Now, I plead to you, our audience, if you get a chance to come to Sabah, to visit Sabah, to look at the wonders that we have here, what we have here, I'm sure you will help us by donating to this very worthy cause, to something that is very precious, not only to us in Sabah, but it's going to be very precious to our future generations. So before I end, because of the time limitation, I'd just like to end by saying that thank you to all our panels, and for sharing their experience, for sharing their technologies, for sharing whatever that they're bringing to this table, in hoping that we will, in the short future, be able to tick off this nuisance from all the things that we need to do to safeguard our environment for future generations. Thank you so much, everybody, and have a nice life. Come visit Sabah, and I'll show you how beautiful Sabah is.
Thank you so much, Datuk. And that's actually a wonderful wrap up, and it means that I don't need to do one because you phrased it all beautifully. So I'd like to thank all of our panelists for joining us, all of our viewers as well. Really interesting discussion today about fish bombing. And I hope everyone learned a lot from it. It's 5 o'clock in the morning here in the UK. Dieter, it's time for you to go to bed as well. So thank you everyone for tuning in. Thank you to Simon, Christopher and Monica Chin of Bluhope. I hope everyone enjoys the rest of the sessions today. So thank you then, guys. Good night.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.